Let's start with a quick show of hands. Who here has ever had a job? All right, good. So you're in the right place. You're my audience. I've had jobs. As introduced, I was a student, but I was also a researcher. I've been a tennis instructor. I've been a barbecue cook. I've been a bartender. I opened a recycling depot one time. And now I am the project manager of the Employment Sector Council, which may be one of the most interesting jobs in this city. So I'm excited to the chance to get to share some of our secrets with you today. The Employment Sector Council has a story that is long and full of intrigue and daring and unexpected partnerships and challenges and solutions. These are our members. So the member organizations of Employment Sector Council, or ESC, are service providers who assist people with disabilities, young people, older workers, our Indigenous peoples, immigrants and newcomers, pretty much everybody. We also have organizations that provide additional support such as literacy and mental health services. We have a whole range of education and training providers, Western, Fanshawe, our school boards. We have economic development corporation partners, workforce development interests. We have municipalities and government. And I hope that you'll know a little bit about what I'm going to tell you today, because hopefully some of these organizations are familiar to you. But I hope to also tell you a few new things about the Employment Sector Council, because one of the amazing things about my role is that I get to see what everybody does from a slightly different perspective. My background is definitely in academics, and so I am not a service provider. I'm not an employment counselor. I have none of those skills or probably capacities, but it also means that I get to see the incredible work that organizations do and their staff and their leadership in particular to develop the kind of services that we need to build good work and a prosperous economy. So a lot of time we spend looking at sort of the impact of these on clients. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the organizations and some of the quiet work that goes on in the background to keep us working as well as we can. So for the most part, Employment Sector Council and our organizations are focused on helping job seekers find good work and helping employers find qualified employees. Right now, we're a little fixated with what our current provincial government has in store for us. If you work in a social service sector, you may be feeling the same. We know that education and childcare and other social services are facing various forms of restructuring. There have been budgetary changes. In the employment sector, we are facing no less than a complete transformation of how employment services are going to be delivered across Ontario. Now, transformation sounds pretty big, sounds definitive, sounds like something we've never seen before, sounds like it should be transformation. Say it with me, transformation. There you go, you have to do it with enthusiasm, because that's healthy. That's one healthy way to deal with it. So you think one transformation sounds exciting. You should try 3 of them. In my time at the Employment Sector Council, I have been witness to the effects of 3 different transformations of our sector. And certainly the one thing that is consistent across the board is that when faced with change and when faced with challenge, if you do it together as a collaborative network, the result is more often than not an increase of capacity across all of our organizations, plus enhanced resilience to face whatever might be coming next, which could be another transformation. You never know. So, transformation number 1. Now, let's be honest, not everybody called this the common sense revolution, and not everybody thought that it was a common sense revolution. I'm not going to name names because, as it turns out, transformations are not the purview of a single political party. Everybody likes a good transformation now and then. Some of you might remember these years. this was a period of significant downloading of social services from provincial governments to municipal governments. And these included childcare, transit, public health, fire and police services, and of interest to us, of course, was the devolution of social assistance and employment services to municipalities. Now, most municipalities in Ontario consolidated services and started delivering them themselves directly. In London, the city decided that they would, in fact, continue to engage with all of the existing service providers who were already doing what they did best, offering specialized services, advancing their expertise and experience. And so they essentially set up a system where they contracted these organizations to deliver services for them, and thus keeping our employment system relatively intact. The question became then, how do you create, or how do you ensure individualized, client-centered service at every one of these organizations, regardless of which door you walk in? And so Employment Sector Council and its partners with the city created what we call a common assessment process. We call it CAP. And CAP means that no matter what organization a job seeker walks into, they are going to go through the same respectful, thorough process of exploring information and gathering information with an employment counselor to make a plan. And because every organization uses the same process, it means that that plan can be transferred across organizations. So if you need to make a referral, you only have to tell your story once because it goes with you. And everybody's using the same language, the same steps. It also means that clients don't fall between the cracks because we can keep track of them. Where are you at in your employment plan? Okay, when you finish that, you come back and we'll go on to the next thing. We've adhered to this model for 20 years, and Employment Sector Council has trained over 2,000 career development practitioners in using this model. The second question we asked was, well, again, how do you ensure that every organization offers the same high-quality standard of service? We developed standards. We call them One Client, and as far as we know, they may be the only Canadian employment service delivery standards that exist. This is a mechanism by which organizations can measure and demonstrate their value and their efficacy in any of the service components that they offer. It means that we know what everybody does best. We also needed to share information across our network, so we created the portal. Back in the day, I don't think that portal was even a word, apart from like maybe science fiction or something. But 25 years ago, there was a portal, and it was an online resource linking people to all of the employment and training resources that were available in the area, job banks, and also links to other wraparound services that can help people with their employment successes, whether it be housing or literacy and so forth. Transformation number 2 was the Employment Ontario transformation. This was the one-size-fits-all model. Different provincial government decided that there were too many of these small specialized organizations. What we should do is create kind of monster organizations that offer everything to everyone. So this had the result of layering a very competitive set of circumstances on what was typically a very collaborative community. So of course we quietly rebelled. We still referred organizations to each other. We still shared clients. One of the outcomes of the EO transformation was that all of these organizations were required to offer what's called job development. Now, who knows what a job developer does? Woo, can I get a few woos from the job developers in the house? There we go. Job developers are employment professionals that work primarily with employers to help them fill their hiring needs. So an employer will come to a job developer, say, I want to fill this position, and the job developer goes to their organization, looks at the lists of clients that they have, and says, aha, there's a great fit. This meant, of course, though, that job developers were now more numerous in sort of number and energy. And so to reduce the degree of competitiveness, we created the Job Developers Network. This means that job developers now work competitively rather than work collaboratively rather than competitively, and that they work together to share jobs, find clients, pool talent, and all sorts of things. It's a remarkable, remarkable collaboration. It means that if you're an employer, you work with one job developer, you're working with all of them at all of the organizations in essence. Labor markets were shifting a lot at that time too. You remember that we were sort of post-recession. Auto sector was out. Technical services were in. We also realized as a community that in order for people to make good employment planning decisions, they need to know what's going on with their labor market. So we created something built on the CAP model, whereby all of our employment staff now use the same process to apply and use labor market information with all of their clients. So again, no matter what door you walk in, you're going to be getting the same type of labor market information and service in the right amount at the right time, depending on what your individualized stage is in your employment journey. So these are just a few examples of things that this little network has created quietly to ensure consistency and professionalism and to make sure that clients, whether they're job seekers or students or employers, are getting the best caliber of service that they can, regardless of the change, that we've got all these structures that keep us together, those human connections that we talked about, that creating of space for our workers and our job seekers. We're facing a transformation again. As I mentioned, we don't really know what's coming. We do know that the government is essentially getting out of the employment services business. Rather than contracting directly with service providers, of which I think there are more than 1,000 contracts across all of Ontario, they're moving to 15. So the London Economic Area will have one single organization that determines how services are going to be delivered for the entire region. So is this a blank slate opportunity? Is this a chance for us to build something bigger, better? Are we going to be able to leverage our strengths and our connections to weather this next Category 5 transformation? Well, what we do know is that whatever it is that we do, we will do it together. And I invite you to join us. We are holding a big job fair next week. That's sort of my very short-term ask. Next week is a job fair. I have posters in the back. If you know a job seeker, come on down. This is a fantastic opportunity. More than 2,000 open jobs will be posted. If you know of a job seeker, or if you're an employer and you would like employment assistance, come and see us. We have an organization for you, and I have referral charts in the back to guide you in that, or you can just contact me. If you are in another sector or you're looking at work and employment from another perspective, please come and talk to us. We are always open to partnerships, conversation, planning. We know everybody's business. We like it that way. That's how we roll. So we're stronger together. And I welcome many questions. Thank you.